Boom. Okay. Punch in a little bit. Oh, Jesus. 1 second. We are... Oh, this is all sorts of goofed. Oh, boy. Okay. What has happened here is nothing short of a tragedy, to be completely honest with you. I don't know what happened. Oh, fuck me. I don't know what happened to the base plate of my other tripod. So I am making do with a backup tripod, which is arguably a better tripod, but it's not set up for this, so I had to reconfigure. We're not going to talk about this. It's an F3 project. Clean that up. Oh my goodness, look at all this just gunk on my desk. I will say though, bright side is the 6.7 is done, which is good. I can breathe a little easier, which means I can really do a better job of cleaning off my desk now. This is gonna take some time. But we're gonna jump into a new thing because I want to talk about it real quick. That would be this AE-1 program that a customer sent in. I do need to message her that I got it, but anyway, it is here. Battery works, and she was having issues with, the customer was having issues with the advance lever. When I got it, I noticed that it was missing a very vital piece. Fortunately, she included that, but I think what had happened was she tried repairing it herself, she said, and then in the process of doing that, made it a little bit more broken than normal, which is totally understandable, totally fine. I just appreciate her reaching out. Sent the piece in the most adorable little jar you've ever seen in your life. Like, this is just the sweetest thing. It made me smile, which is great. Normally I use like film cartridges for stuff, but like this little thing of, it's like a little jam bottle or something. Very sweet, very adorable. I just wanted to make note of that. And this piece is vital because it sits right on top of here and serves as the catch mechanism for that little slot there in the advance lever. So this sits here, and then it should swing back. Now, that's easier said than done. There's obviously some larger issues, so we're going to go ahead and dive into that fun in the sun. So we'll start off by taking off the bottom here. This is an AE-1 program, and somebody's clearly worked on this before. As you can tell, the bottom's like a lot more smoothed out than normal, which means it may or may not have had some markings on it. Someone tried to sheen it down a little bit. You see it all the time with these like plastic metal composite bodies. So nothing too new there. Remove this. Okay, so we can see here that the shutter is ready to fire. So feasibly, it should be advanced and ready to go, but it's not. You can see where the, okay, interesting. Okay. Okay, we have a goof up. I see what we did here. Give me 1 second. Okay. So basically what had happened was, presumably, the shutter mechanism looks like it is out of sync. So, oh man, that is, yeah. Might have to dig into this a little bit more than I kind of wanted to. And at that point, I think what I will do is probably clean off my desk projects first. To then work on this. So, unless, of course, nope, the opposite of what we really wanted to have happen there. So basically, the curtain is not advanced properly. The shutter discharges. The advance works down in the bottom here, barely. But this is having an issue. There is power, which is good, and that's always a good sign. But yeah, I think the issue is going to be under the top here. Potentially the piece that holds this in place just needs to be readjusted, which will make for a good video. I just don't talk about programs that much because hardly anybody ever sends me in a program. So this will be a fun one, I think. We'll see. I hope. This is definitely one of my favorite ones to take the top off of, and I'll show you why in that video. It is just super fun, super easy, and compared to the AE-1, which I feel like isn't too bad if you've done a lot of them, but it's a lot more stressful than the program, so it's definitely a huge upgrade in terms of the repairability. But still, my main complaint is just the plastic composite body. I'm just not a fan because it shows marks so easily, and it's really hard to find one in like relatively decent condition. So that is all, but I think for now, like preliminary analysis, definitely gonna need to take the top off. I want to put this F3 back together again because it's going to be a little bit more involved, and I'm really going to try to keep my desk as clean as possible moving forward. But that's not the end of the video, don't you worry, because the customer also sent in this, the fuel of my nightmares, Minolta X-700. I said, quite literally, told the customer, no promises, because I don't want to make any promises. But it does have power, which is a good thing. However, the advanced is locked, and it looks like the shutter is not advanced. Typically you can tell that because there's a little orange flag that comes up in that window, and because it's not there, my presumption is that it's not advanced properly. So I'm going to take a quick look at this. I know how to do like 2 things on this camera. Actually, that's a lie. I know how to do a lot with this camera. I just prefer to not work on them because they make me sad. And I'm trying to do things that make me happy. 2023 is the year I prioritize my happiness. It'd make me really happy if I could find my other tripod plate. I know it's in my room somewhere, but right now I just have like customer boxes and cameras everywhere. Oh no, successful business. So I'm just gonna have to dig around a little bit for it, but I wanted to make this video quickly. Okay. So it looks as though the board itself isn't in the worst condition possible. The other thing to note too is that the shutter does have like response to it. Not a whole lot actually, because typically it should trigger the... Okay, so here's what we might be looking at. The advance does seem to work, which is a good sign. The shutter mechanism, the button, I don't know how responsive it actually is. God, that got foggy really quickly. What happened? Literally, I was just looking through it and it was clear. Okay. So, shutter button itself seems to be somewhat responsive. The advance seems to be a little bit wacky. I am going to just do a little cleaning of this because it couldn't hurt. But I will say it appears as though this is not the origin of the issues. I think what I'm going to do... One second, sorry, I got to use my little magnifying glass here. I'm definitely going to put new batteries in first and foremost, because that's always like a quick solve. Let me see if I can get you in on this too. So the board itself does look clean. Like I said, usually what we're looking for is for leakage around this capacitor, but typically what happens with these cameras is, well, the X-700, my main complaint issue with them is that of the electronics. Okay, this is the bane of my existence because pretty much the entirety of this camera is controlled by electrical systems, which on one hand would be fine. However, the electronics are pretty outdated because this camera's from the 80s question mark. I don't really remember. This feels magnetized. Is this magnetized? Anyway, camera's old, right? And capacitors go bad. There's a lot of different points of failure. Basically what a capacitor is, in case you don't know, is it serves as a temporary reserve for power. So you have your battery here. Where's my paper when I need it? Give me 1 second. I gotta find a piece of paper because this is a good one. This is one of my favorite things to doodle. Oh, here we go. Just use the garbage here. Okay, good enough. This is a really high rent operation. Okay, so here we have the battery, right? God, that looks terrible. Okay, battery here. So this feeds into the circuit. Now, with something like a flash, it requires a capacitor because it's got all, this is the light, whatever. This capacitor basically serves as a temporary storage for the power, so that way it's easily accessible. So it's like a direct route of power. As opposed to gradually draining this is a fast drain from the capacitor to fuel the flash. So the Minolta, for whatever reason, genuinely don't know, has a multitude of capacitors. I think more so than any other camera. I think, don't quote me on that, except for like point and shoots, which that's the other issue with the point and shoots, the AA, like Canon, Sure Shot, whatever, point and shoots. They also have capacitors because they have the inboarded flash, and then they have other systems like the motorizing system, I believe, is also operated by a capacitor for some of them. So anyway, because also these were like more budgeted cameras, maybe not so much the X-700, but the other ones, they did kind of cheap out on that. But basically, because the capacitor is meant to store power and then release it, a lot of the times, like older cameras like this, people left batteries in, not thinking anything of it, and then it would be sitting around their house or whatever for, 20 years, and then they go try and use it again, and it's dead. And so they put new batteries in it, it's still dead. That's because the capacitors leaked the power that it was storing from the batteries that were in there for like 20 years or whatever. And due to that leakage, that could potentially cause a separation from the board itself. I've seen it sometimes where the acid leaks and the capacitor doesn't stick to the board. I've also seen it where the capacitor is just done, and to try and find the exact replacement capacitor is tricky. I'm gonna kind of keep working at it because I don't want to give up just initially. I literally just took the bottom off and made sure that the advance was working properly, because I was kind of hoping that that would be the case where it just got a little gummed up. But it does seem to be an electrical failure. The shutter button itself is being a little bit weird, because basically when you press down on it, it is engaging the light metering system, but then it's also like sticking a little bit, and it is not engaging the self-timer. So even if the shutter wasn't to be released, the self-timer should still be operational. It is not. And then the other thing that's important to note is that the capacitor, one of the capacitors, is for the curtain release. So since the curtain is not releasing, that could potentially be the source of the problem. I'm not going to be able to find that out until I take the top off, unfortunately. But from there we can diagnose whether or not the shutter button is the issue, or whether or not it is this top capacitor, whatever. So that is it. It's also pretty dusty, but that doesn't really matter too much. All told, kind of a pain in the ass to work on. Not super looking forward to it, but hopefully we can learn a thing or two. But I'll be honest, I am skeptical. So that is it for now. I might try to manually fire the shutter, because I think I remember how to do that. But like I said, I do need to get this F3 put back together, get my desk cleaned off, and then we will revisit these fun little projects. And hopefully at that point in time, I will have my other tripod operational. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. As always, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the support. So yeah, stay tuned, subscribe so you don't miss out. I'll catch you on the next one.